Designing our own custom OpenWRT router, and it's going to have 16 ports. This one has 8, and it's going to have 2 1 gigabit ports. And so if you have 8 computers here, and you would deploy Skycoin on one computer, you would deploy a VPN node, another VPN node, a Skywire node, a Sky Messenger node, and so on. So each blockchain application in the Skycoin ecosystem gets deployed on a separate hardware node. So if you have a wallet node, you'll be able to configure on the router which nodes that node is able to connect to, and the router will block all incoming connections. So nodes can only connect out for security, and if one node gets hacked, or a Skywire or a VPN node gets hacked, if there's a vulnerability, the wallet node is on a separate physical hardware node for security. So one application being compromised doesn't affect the other applications on the platform. And since we're developing in our fiber platform, we have millions of different blockchains. We're building a standardized platform that automates the deployment of blockchain applications. So this is actually a small hardware unit. This is the small version. It only has 8 boards. We're having a 64 board and a 256 board Skyminer, one that's the size of a small refrigerator, being developed. So if you're a company and you have 15, 20, 60, 100 blockchain applications that you're testing or using within your company, you'll be able to buy a Skyminer and plug it in and start deploying those applications on your own hardware. So this is sort of a personal cloud that gives you compute nodes, and then you're able to deploy applications to the computing nodes. And Skywire only monetizes bandwidth right now, but later on we're adding computation and storage. So if you have excess cards or excess Skywire nodes, you're able to rent those out to the network and receive coins for providing that service. So it's very similar to Golem. And you're also, if you have excess file storage, you're able to rent the unused file storage to other users. So it also has a Filecoin type thing, and it also is a mesh networking. So the 3 core things that we're monetizing on the platform are bandwidth, computation, and storage. So this unit is designed to be very efficient. We have 1 power supply, and 1 power supply can power multiple units, like 24 different computing nodes. So instead of having 1 computer, 1 power supply, we have 1 power supply and then a rail, and then we're able to power dozens of nodes. And this reduces the cost and complexity. And then we have 1 router, and then we'll have eventually 16 ports, and we will have 2 1 gigabit ports, and 1 of those ports will be going to a storage node doing network attached storage, and another port will be going to the internal network. So, and eventually for the 16 port router, we're also doing antennas. So people will be able to plug in an Ethernet cable and then run it up to the roof and then plug in antennas, and those antennas will be able to connect peer-to-peer to other Skyminer nodes. So if you have a neighbor, if you have a cable modem, you plug it in, and your neighbor has a cable modem, they plug it in, and you run an antenna up to your roof and connect to your neighbor, you'll be able to use all possible paths for bandwidth. So if each cable modem is 100 megabits and you have 5 neighbors with Skyminer that each have 100 megabit connections, you'll have 500 megabits in your house, because Skywire is designed to use all possible paths for bandwidth. So you're able to aggregate or do what's called channel bonding. So if you want more bandwidth, you just install more antennas. You want more computation, you just install more computing nodes. If you want more storage, you just install more storage nodes. And so this is designed to be a modular platform, and these are eventually designed to be stacked, and people are going to be building whole data centers out of these. And so for video streaming, if we're going to build a decentralized YouTube, we need millions of terabytes of decentralized data storage. We need caching. We need a very fast network. And so each of these cards can do 100 megabits per second. And so we have 8 cards. So if you're downloading a file, you can essentially use 8 or 10 or 50 or 60 computers to start downloading different parts of the files concurrently, reassemble the file, and then stream the file to you. So this is basically a personal cloud. So each computer might only be able to do 1 megabit or be able to do 1 gigabit per second. But if we have 100 computers, there's no, the platform scales out horizontally. So if we needed to do 100,000 gigabits per second, we could scale out to that just by adding more antennas, more hardware, more networking equipment. Whereas it's impossible to buy a single computer that's able to scale out to that level of performance. So this platform, we chose the cheapest nodes, which is just cell phone processors, and then we decided to scale out the platform horizontally by just adding more cheap processors. Rather than trying to buy a very expensive $1,000 processor, we buy $50, $20 processors. And this is much more efficient for the platform in the long run, and especially for scaling out. And one example, I'll give you, why do you need this? Why do I need 2,000 computers in my house? Pretend you're a law firm and you're doing company incorporations. Delaware has stated that companies can now incorporate and put their stock on the blockchain. So we now have we're gonna have 1 million companies in Delaware incorporating on blockchain and trading their stock on blockchain. And every single one of those companies is gonna need its own blockchain. It's gonna need 3 consensus nodes. It's gonna need 10 nodes replicating the blockchain. It's gonna need a law firm or third party that's replicating data in case the nodes go offline and it needs to be retrieved later for legal purposes. It's going to need an exchange to start trading and selling this company that maybe only 3 or 5 people own. So essentially every Delaware corporation from day one is gonna be a publicly traded company on the blockchain. They're gonna need an exchange, they're gonna need a wallet, they're going to need consensus nodes, they're gonna need nodes for storing the whole history of transactions for that company going to the beginning of time. And you're gonna have a provider and they're gonna need 1 million blockchains, and each blockchain is gonna need 12 nodes. So you're gonna need 12, that company providing that business service is gonna need 12 million computing nodes. So this is a scalable platform where we'll have a completely automated factory assembling these boards, and you buy the board and you plug it in. And if you want to add another 1 million computing nodes, you buy them for $20 each, and you just plug them in and it works. This is what's called zero comp. You just plug in the board, you plug in the node, it registers to the control server, and you can instantly start deploying blockchain applications across your network. Right now, so this is one step up from Docker or EC2, where you're saying, I want 1,000 computing nodes, or I want 200 nodes. People are still SSHing into the nodes and setting up and configuring the software. With the Skyminer and with our platform and our ecosystem, we give people the ability to deploy blockchain applications from a web GUI with zero configuration and without knowing any programming. So this is going to be, this is a platform to really big blockchain to the masses, to the point that a lawyer or a law firm or a company that isn't necessarily specializing in software development can start building and deploying their own blockchain applications. Another feature of this platform is our CX programming language. So we designed a new programming language to make it easy to do blockchain applications. Right now, blockchain developers are charging $200, $500, $2,000 an hour sometimes just to do 200-line smart contracts. It's very difficult to get blockchain developers because there's so few people doing blockchain, and there's so many companies coming into the space. So we designed a new programming language called CX, and basically any Python or Golang developer can come in and start writing blockchain applications in 5 minutes. And what this means is companies don't have to go out and hire a $2,000 an hour blockchain consultant with Celerity or whatever the current scripting language is. They're able to take an existing programmer and have them immediately start writing blockchain applications after 4 or 6 hours of training. So this is what we think is necessary to really bring blockchain to the point that millions of corporations can start using blockchain just like they use SQL databases. So we see blockchain as a database. That's what blockchain really is. People say, what is blockchain? And blockchain is a database. So we need to make blockchain as easy to use as an SQL database or MongoDB database. And so building this integrated standardized platform is part of how we're making blockchain easy to use for corporations and for individuals.